Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Harrisburg City Council Legislative Session, Tuesday, January the 9th, 2018. Calling this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Mr. Petrosky, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett. Ms. Daniels.
Here.
Ms. Green.
Present.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Madsen.
Here.
Mr. Majors.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Present. Thank you, Mr. Petrosky. Invocation by Mr. Johnson.
Can we have a moment of silence for the Pierce family? They lost a loving member of their family, Miss Wanda Pierce. I would also like for us to pray for a prosperous 2018, where we as a city can learn, grow, and build together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Green.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and to the public, Happy New Year. This is our first meeting of 2018, and I would like to take this opportunity to take a moment to commend the Harrisburg Police Department for their display of professionalism in handling the shooting crisis on December 22nd, 2017. Due to their quick response, there were no casualties to any of our residents, so I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank them. Also, I'd like to extend a happy birthday to our business administrator who's not here tonight, Mr. Mark Woolley. And I'll give you an update that we now have a new vice president. His name is Ben Allett. He sits to my right. So congratulations, Mr. Allett. And also to give you an update on our committee members. We have new committee members this year. I am the chair, and all council members are members of Administration Committee. Budget and Finance Committee is Mr. Ben Allett. Mr. Johnson and Ms. Daniels are members. Building and Housing Committee, Mr. Johnson is the chair. Mr. Majors and Ms. Green are members. Community Economic Development Committee is Mr. Madsen and Mr. Allett and Mr. Johnson are members. Parks and Recreation and Enrichment Committee, Ms. Daniels is the chair. Ms. Green and Mr. Madsen are members. Public Safety Committee, Ms. Green is the chair, and Mr. Majors and Mr. Allett are members. Public Works Committee is Mr. Majors, he's the chair. Ms. Daniels and Mr. Madsen are members. And I, as the president, am an ex officio member of all the committees. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, we move on to communications. We have none this evening. And I move on to courtesy of the floor. At this time, I extend to the public to come to the mic at this time, starting with my right.
Yeah, my name is Tim Rowbottom, 333 South 18th Street. I bought a property here in the city of Harrisburg. I think most of you up here, the council members, know who I am. I prepared a packet for each of the council members, including the mayor. I don't know.
Okay.
You want to hit me? I think there's 8 there. And I just wanted to take the chance to give these out to let you guys know that you've been served. And this is a complaint that I'm filing as a resident, that I think there's a lot of injustices going on in the city. I think it's easy to point a finger at somebody that doesn't have a pocket or doesn't have a bunch of money to defend themselves. And then I've personally been put out of business by this administration. And the packet's there for you to read. There'll be one probably about every council meeting coming of different violations that the city's under. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Rowbottom. Anyone else to my right, please?
Greetings once again, Honorable
members of Harrisburg City Council. My name is Khaldoon Rashid, and my address is 1802 North 6th Street here in Harrisburg, and I'm an advocate for the homeless. And I'm also an active member of the community. And what I would like to say today, or what I would like to do, rather, is just to take a few minutes to thank Christian United Churches and their affiliates, the YWCA, Safe Harbor, and the Bethesda Mission, for their ongoing support and participation in the Winter Hazardous Weather Program, which has been instrumental in saving lives by providing a safe environment to be in during this winter's bitter cold. Of special gratitude and thanks on behalf of the homeless community, the people wish to thank tremendously the Pine Street Presbyterian Church and the Downtown Daily Bread and its new drop-in center that stepped up to the plate, offering 30 overnight cots for men and daytime sanctuary for both men and women, offering also a multitude of other services. Last year, unfortunately, there was one death which occurred on the riverfront where a homeless man froze to death. It's not uncommon to find someone that would rather take their chances outside. We can only do what is within our own powers of persuasion. So this season, we go in with better preparedness than ever before, and the people of this great city of Harrisburg notice. So again, we give recognition where recognition is due to all the programs out there, especially those who think they really don't matter. For real, you do make a difference. Recovering from the pitfalls of homelessness is a process that can take years in some cases, a week in others. There is no greater reward than to see someone make something of their lives and make a comeback after being on the edge of the brink of destruction. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Anyone else to my right? Anyone in the middle, please?
Good evening. I'm Daniel D. Graham, 217 North 2nd Street here in Harrisburg. I say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all had a good Christmas, visiting family and other friends and getting presents and going on trips, and most of all, celebrating the coming of Jesus Christ our Lord. This is what Christmas is all about. On another issue, I read Mayor Pappenfuse's budget plan, some parts of it I read, and I'm happy to see that the mayor is planning to hire at least 20 new police officers and, 5 or 6 new firefighters. That's good. And I see there, every now and then I see police officers walking the streets, patrolling 2nd Street and other streets. That's good. We need more police officers, not only in cars, but on foot and on bicycles. So I believe that you people are making good progress in increasing the police patrols and hiring new police officers and more firefighters. That's good. I also like the mayor's plan for rerouting the suburban auto traffic from North 2nd Street onto 7th Street. And along with that, making North 2nd Street and Front Street also two-way traffic like it apparently was years ago. That's good. After all, those streets are not an express highway. They're city streets, and many people live along those streets, 2nd Street and Front Street. And I also would like to have extended local CAT bus service running from Market Square all the way north on 2nd Street, on North 2nd Street, from Market Square at least as far north as Division Street. Local CAT bus service on North 2nd Street in both directions, northbound and southbound. And I know I would use that bus service at least once a week or every 2 weeks, going to and from the laundromat there, the Morris Laundromat. And it would be a help to other people also who lives on, I know one young lady who lives on North 2nd Street. She rides a bus to work on 3rd Street, and I believe it would help her and other people who live on North 2nd Street to have the local bus service restored again on North 2nd Street. And more local bus service on other streets and roads throughout Harrisburg and the nearby suburbs, as much as public demand warrants it, and increasing the frequency of local bus service. Also, more Amtrak passenger rail service. We do already have good Amtrak train service on the main Amtrak rail line going across Pennsylvania, starting in New York City and then serving Philadelphia, Lancaster, Harrisburg, Altoona, Johnstown, Pittsburgh, and other intermediate points. Good train service, yes. Praise God for that. But we can use more train service from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh. As I've said before, I suggest a second Amtrak passenger train, train running from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh in the morning, and then providing, say, 4 or 5 hours for a passenger to visit in Pittsburgh, and then a return train from Pittsburgh back to Harrisburg in the mid-afternoon and arriving in Harrisburg in the evening. That would be good, and that way a train passenger could make the train trip from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh and back by train in one day. From Harrisburg to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh back to Harrisburg by train in one day, and not have to go to the expense of staying overnight at a hotel in Pittsburgh. From what I've heard, most of those hotels in downtown Pittsburgh are very expensive. And also we need, again, let us get started on a regional commuter rail train service, running commuter trains on the present rail lines radiating from Harrisburg in all directions, such as from Harrisburg to Gettysburg, Harrisburg to Carlisle, and Harrisburg to Millersburg, Halifax, Harrisburg to Hershey and Lebanon, and other rail routes. Also, again, let us get started on this regional commuter rail system as soon as possible, using present rail lines, which are already in place, and more long-distance intercity and long-distance Amtrak passenger trains running from Harrisburg on present railroads in all directions, serving Harrisburg and going all through Pennsylvania and running into New York State, New Jersey, and other states.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, you're going to have to
Okay.
conclude, please, here.
Again, I went on beautiful, excellent rides on Amtrak passenger trains this last summer and in previous summers. Went to Vermont on the train last year, and to Virginia and Indianapolis and Chicago on the Amtrak trains the previous year, and I rode many other Amtrak passenger train lines, and it's a it's and I had beautiful, thrilling, excellent rides on Amtrak passenger trains on many railroads this last summer and previous years. And also,
Mr. Graham.
Amtrak trains
Mr.
are
Graham.
safe.
Mr.
I
Graham.
rode thousands of miles. In the last 60 years, I rode thousands of miles
Graham,
on
you're
Amtrak
gonna
trains
have
and
to
other,
get the mic
other
out.
railroad trains, and never had a derailment, never had an accident.
Okay.
The Amtrak trains and other railroad trains are safe.
Okay,
Thank you much. God
All right,
bless.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, you have to be considerate of other people sitting in the audience now. We asked you to please be considerate. Okay, okay.
Have a time limit.
No, sir, I don't want to do a time limit. That means you won't get all your issues out. If I do a time limit, now I try to be considerate because 2 minutes is not enough time to relate to the council concerns that residents have. So I tried to give you a little bit more time, but I think, sometimes you go over. But thank you, it's good to have you back.
Welcome back, Mr.
Welcome
Graham.
back.
Yeah.
Okay?
Missed you.
It's good to see you. We did miss you. Okay. Anyone else in the middle, please come to the mic. Thank you.
I bet a couple of you guys would like to put time limits on me, I know.
No, I'm not, no, sir, we
I
don't
know.
do that.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Allard.
sir.
Bo Brown, 1944 Swatara Street. First of all, I really want to wish council and administration and all of the bodies a prosperous year. I hope that you guys come together and you communicate, even though you are separate powers and you should be separate powers. I hope that you guys communicate with reason. And that everything moving forward benefits not only the city but the citizens equally. Okay. The second thing is today I saw the Covanta extended a lease with the authority, the Lancaster Authority, which provides our trash services, Dauphin County and other counties. And I see on here, you guys have a couple of resolutions. Resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a software subscription agreement with Superior LLC. How would you guys feel if you guys entered into that agreement and had to pay for that, but never received the service? I'm asking you. How would you guys feel?
Well, what's the reference behind that?
That right there.
Okay, well, we did not.
Okay.
We didn't discuss that yet, sir. This is
I know
just-
you didn't. I'm saying
it's
any
coming-
service, pick a service.
It's
Pick
coming
any
into
service,
committee,
okay?
sir.
The other day, I resentfully paid a balance onto a trash invoice for trash that has not been picked up from my property in 20 years. The trash is it's a non-producing building. It's a little shed, doesn't have electric, doesn't have water. It's a tool shed. But I pay the same trash amount for that as I do for my house, but no trash gets picked up. It doesn't produce any trash. But you guys have, I don't know if it's you or anyone else, I'm not really blaming it, but it's codified that you guys invoice parcels, invoice buildings at a certain rate. And I understand the city went through some problems. We're in Act 47, we've had some financial woes, but according to the local press, all of that's changing. Okay, so I would ask you guys to re-examine that ordinance and consider the fairness of it. Consider whether or not it should remain in application, because if it was the private sector, I mean that's like it's theft. I mean, essentially. So, in any event, thank you very much.
Sir, Mr. Brown wanted to let you know that the Public Works Committee, one of our main priorities for 2018, 2019 is to look at redoing our public works and our sanitation ordinance. This is not the first I've heard of this. I've heard of this from several residents, and we're going to try to have that issue addressed as we look to take on that issue. We had a bill last session. We didn't get it through the process. I didn't want to do it without public meetings and public vetting. But that's one of the main priorities of Public Works Committee, is to review our sanitation ordinance for 2018.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Let them know that. Okay. Anyone else in the middle? Mr. Harrison?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Otis Harrison, and I'm a was a bar owner on 15th and Market. My dad had purchased this bar back in, God knows, probably 1970. And
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
okay, excuse me. And like I said, the on Market Street, 1500 Market Street, OD's place. I think my dad purchased that bar back in 1970, if I'm not mistaken. I want to know if that's kind of like grandfather clock in or anything, because it has been shut down for whatever reason that I'm not understanding. As far as my license and stuff has been taken away from me. And at the time, since I really had took over the place, I hadn't had any problems at the bar. I even had the mayor when we was having community meetings at the church and all, and I had asked questions about having a policeman out there, since they were saying the areas was kind of bad, which I didn't have any problems out there, but I couldn't get anybody to come as far as a policeman. So all of a sudden, when they had an incident downtown, that's when they was putting out 10 extra policemen. But I was told that the police is short and all this type of stuff, which I didn't think that was fair. I mean, I don't know how much that you can put on this, but I just feel like that I was really railroaded on this situation, because at the time I didn't have any problems, wasn't any problems at all. And all of a sudden, my place gets shut down. And this is my livelihood and all. So I probably a lot of stuff that I'm not saying. I wish I knew about this earlier, but I didn't, because I'm not from here. So I'm just kind of like following my dad's footsteps to continue his legacy on and all. And just would like to know what is it that I can do in order to reopen or get things going back, if something that you can help me with or tell me what to do.
Mr. Harrison, I'll certainly look into that. We have our new chair, Ms. Green, who sits at the end.
Okay.
I just was made aware of this evening when I received a note from my assistant city clerk. I just spoke to the mayor and our solicitor, and they said that it was not the city of Harrisburg that shut you down, but it was the Liquor Control Board.
I believe that it was some help from him as well for that to happen.
Okay.
For one reason, when it was time for him to be reelected, he came into the bar when we was having community meetings right up the street, and I asked him and the chief both to come down to my establishment to look and see what I have done. Okay. Jackie Parker, I guess his assistant, she would come to the bar. She wanted me to do this, put lightings up in the alleyway, which I thought that was on the city, but I still did that. I put lights up in the alleyway. I have a metal detective. I had bouncers and all. But after he came in the bar and all, and that's when I found out 2 weeks after that, that's when they, wanted to shut me down, and which they did. But I really believe that he had part in that, of part shutting me down,
Ms. Green, would you like to set up a meeting with Mr. Harrison and myself and you and the chief to discuss this? Okay.
All right, thank you.
I will give her, this is the correct phone number, 804-731-3494?
Yes.
Okay. We will be contacting you after we get in touch with the Commissioner Carter. Okay?
Could I just say, for the
Sure.
record,
Go ahead.
non-confrontationally, that I feel bad for Mr. Harrison. I had nothing to do with the shutting down of his establishment. I've actually been there several times, and I think it was well-run. And actually, the courts have been very clear that as much as the city may want to be involved in regulating the business licenses of bars, they've said repeatedly it is the sole domain of the Liquor Control Board, and that has been the court's decision, and we respect that.
How many
So-
times had you been there, sir? I only saw you one time.
I've been a couple times, yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying I feel sorry for you. I'm,
You didn't, the
Okay.
only time you came in when you came for your election, when you were trying to get signatures. That was the only time that I saw you. People know you. They would have said that, hey, the mayor was here. Bob tell me that you was here. That
Well,
was the
Mr.
only
Harrison,
time.
we'll certainly find out, and we'll get to the bottom of this, and we will include you in the meeting. As I indicated to you, Ms. Green is just our newly elected Public Safety Chair, but her and I will get in touch with Commissioner Carter, and we will invite you. We'll find out what's going on. And if we can be of assistance, we certainly will help. Okay. Anyone else in the middle, please? Hold on. Just a minute, please. Just a minute. Anyone to my left? Okay. I know you were late coming in, so go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Killian, and I live in a 1900 block of Rudy Road. My interest is regarding cable service in the city. I was told that Comcast has the exclusive rights to service the city. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. I've been concerned about more competition regarding cable, like Fios, for the residents for quite a while now. So if someone could kind of help me understand what's going on with that and what's being done, I would appreciate it.
Well, this is the first we've heard of that, a complaint, so we certainly will try to address that with you.
I can
Excuse
say.
me, there's a,
This is a known issue. The city's in favor of competition and inviting Verizon into the city, and we're in conversations with them about it. So I agree there should be competition for our cable provider. But that was a decision that was made prior to anyone's time
Right,
here.
right.
We'd like to see that change. So I think that is something that we'll try and work on as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
and I thought we were in agreement with Verizon, that we were bringing Verizon,
We would like them to do it. That it requires them investing a little bit in infrastructure, and
because we
so
were in conversation.
it's not
with
as easy as
Comcast.
just, yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's what I heard. that
We were in
they
conversations
coming.
with
Right,
Comcast to bring
exactly.
Verizon
But
in.
it never happened.
Okay. We'll make sure that we check into that for
Okay,
you, get
thank
back
you.
with you. Can you, at the end of the meeting, could you give me Miss Lorraine, could you give me, at the end of the meeting, just need your information to get back with you, please?
Yes.
Or give it to Mr. Petrosky.
I sure will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we move into the agenda? Thank you. Approval of minutes, approval of the legislative session minutes of December 19, 2017. Council members, are there any deletions, corrections, or omissions? Hearing none, minutes stand as approved. Moving on to reports of committees, we have none this evening. Moving on to ordinance for first reading, none. Ordinance for amendment, none. And ordinance for final passage, none. Moving on to resolutions, Resolution 1 of 2018. Mr. Petrosky, please read it into record.
Okay, Resolution 1 of 2018 was moved by Mr. Madsen, second by Mr. Allett. It's a resolution approving the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan submitted by Brad Jones, president of the South Second Associates LLC, to convert the properties at 17 South Second Street and 21 South Second Street into a mixed-use project.
That would be placed in Community Economic Development. Moving on to Resolution 2.
Resolution 2 of 2018 was moved by Mr. Madsen, second by Mr. Allett. It's a resolution approving the preliminary final subdivision land development plan submitted by Brad Jones, president of Harristown Enterprises, to convert an existing office building into a 12-unit mixed-use building.
That also will be placed in Community and Economic Development. Moving on to Resolution 3, please.
Resolution 3 of 2018 was moved by Mr. Allett, second by Mr. Madsen. It's a resolution approving the collection agreement between the City of Harrisburg and the Harrisburg School District for the collection of the business privilege and mercantile tax and the amusement tax for the 2018 tax year.
That will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 4.
Resolution 4, 2018 was moved by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Allett. It's a resolution in support of a constitutional mandate to create and empower a nonpartisan Citizens Commission for legislative redistricting and congressional reapportionment.
That will be placed in Building and Housing Committee. Moving on to Resolution 5.
Resolution 5 of 2018 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Madsen. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a software subscription agreement with Superior LLC to upgrade existing accounting software utilized for essential financial operations of the city.
That will be placed in the Administration Committee. Moving on to Resolution 6.
Resolution 6 of 2018 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services contract with Steve Zimmerman to provide an access and service of the city's historical mainframe programming operations and related services in the Bureau of Information Technology.
That also will be placed in the Administration Committee. Moving on to Resolution 7.
Resolution 7 of 2018 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Johnson. It's a resolution confirming the appointment of Mark Woolley to serve as business administrator for the City of Harrisburg.
Is there any questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Was there, sure.
Is there what?
No, nothing. Yeah.
Yes?
So it just felt procedurally weird to me, that's all.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Madsen?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 7 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to Resolution 8 of 2018.
Resolution 8 of 2018 was moved by Mr. Allett, seconded by Mr. Madsen. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional service contract with Fairmount Capital Advisors Incorporated to serve as the city's limited purpose financial advisor.
Will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to old business, council members. Any old business?
Sorry.
Any old business, council members? Hearing none. Any new business?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What happened to the firefighters contract?
The firefighters have not formally communicated their result yet. As our understanding, it was voted down and by a very close vote, and it's going back to the table to discuss further.
When is like their next vote? Or
They haven't scheduled it.
okay.
They don't have to tell us that.
Okay.
So there actually is a series of formal notices that come. Formal notices haven't come. Informal discussions have continued to try to identify what the concerns of the members were.
So they're back in negotiations?
We're pretty optimistic. We think there might have been some misunderstanding at the heart of it, so we're hopeful that we can still get that done.
All right. Any other old business, council members? Moving on to new business. Any new business, council members? Okay.
So this weekend is MLK weekend. One of the things that are going on is Central Pennsylvania MLK Day of Service, which is supposed to be January 15, 2018. You can go to centralpamlkday.org to sign up to register for a project. I think there's an opening day ceremony at a mosque. I forgot the name of it. But if you go to the website, centralpamlkday.org, you're able to pull that information and participate throughout many great projects that will be going on during that day of service. Also, there's a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 40th Annual Celebration Weekend. I believe it's starting first on January 11th at the Kappa Omega House, where they're going to be doing a teacher summit. So that will be starting at 6 o'clock at the Kappa Omega House. And then on January 13th and 14th, there's going to be a breakfast that's going to be held at the ASME Center, followed by, on the 14th, there's going to be a service at St. Paul Baptist Church, which is 1201 North 17th Street in Harrisburg. That guest speaker for the service is Reverend W. Wilson Goody, who is the former mayor of Philadelphia and the first African American to hold that office. And for the breakfast, it's going to be Bill Murphy, who is a special education teacher at the William Penn Senior High School in New York, I believe. I think I got that right. No, Bill Murphy is an attorney and former judge of Baltimore, who will be the guest speaker at the AFME Conference Center. So that will be all going on this weekend. So happy MLK Day.
All right. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to invite everyone to the comprehensive plan meeting tomorrow. It's going to be held here in the council chambers at 5:30 p.m. It's for public comment on the draft comprehensive plan that's out there. So if you want your voice to be heard, as far as the comprehensive plan, I invite everyone to come out, either speak or listen. It's great information that you'll receive.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I got one more thing. It's actually a quick story. It actually happened to me today. I get to share with my other council members. But while I was at work today, my father called me, and I panicked because he believed that he had to bail me out of New Jersey jail. This was due to someone calling my grandparents in South Carolina saying that I was arrested for DUI and that they needed to send $9,500 to this attorney who worked out this deal with this judge to kind of get me into a first offenders program, get me out of bail. So I say that to say there's a lot of scammers going on. I think they're really targeting our elderly population. I was able to communicate this information to our chief of police and trying to get some tips for our public to know. I think one of the first things inside a situation to do is anytime something seems peculiar or something doesn't sound right, is to first to physically try to call the person. Because while this was all going on, I didn't get a phone call till about maybe 2 hours later, and I was just at work. So a lot of times, we're so quick to react because we want to help our loved ones, whatever situation that may come to pass. But first try to contact that person, and then don't, get into a conversation where you're talking about sending cash. They wanted my father to send cash to this mailing address somewhere in New Jersey. So after a while, the story didn't make sense. So no transaction took place. So luckily we were safe. But I just want to put people on red alert that scams are happening. They are real. I would never thought it would happen to me and my family. And when these scams are happening, feel free to call your local authorities. The chief told me the way that process works is where the call originates from. You have to get in contact with that local authority, police, which then will get in contact with that jurisdiction of where a transfer was, if it did happen, where that transfer took place, or where they were trying to get you to send the money to kind of really get that Attorney General's office aware and also that local police department aware of kind of honing in on these scams. So really pass the message on. It can happen to anyone.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else? Just to inform the public that we will have a work session here in council chambers next Tuesday, January 16th at 5:30 p.m., and everyone is invited. No other new business? I ask for adjournment. You? Second?
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.